The biggest fear for both campaigns is as simple as it is obvious, that their voters in this dead-even race don't all show up to vote. Two brand new polls show the presidential race remains stubbornly deadlocked nationally and in the battlegrounds, which is why Donald Trump pulled in Republican heavy hitters for his MSG rally last night. They included Elon Musk, Melania Trump, Hulk Hogan, Dr. Phil. And why, in Pennsylvania, for example, in just the last week, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, TV host Padma Lakshmi all campaigned for Harris ahead of tonight's rally with Bruce Springsteen and Barack Obama.
No one can sit on the sidelines. There is too much on the line, and we must not wake up the day after the election and have any regrets about what we could have done.
You need to get out and vote. Get your husband off the couch. The football game doesn't mean a damn thing. You got to get out and vote.
I'm asking you one last time. Let us not just sit around and complain. Let's do something.
Don't just vote. Vote 10 times. You get yourself to the polls, and then you take 9 of your friends and family with you.
Joining us now, Matthew Dowd, chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney 2004 campaign and an MSNBC senior political analyst, and former Republican governor of Ohio, John Kasich, an MSNBC political analyst. Okay, Governor, look. Every election is a turnout election, right? But in a race that has been this tight for this long, is it time to throw everyone and everything at those low propensity voters and hope something sticks? What gets them off the couch?
Well, when you read this today about the nature of the media, it's not just television anymore. It's everything. Of course, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's X, it's everything. And now, as you reported earlier, you go to a gas station, you're pumping your gas, and you still can't get away from it. And look, Trump's used the WWE people. You got Kamala using the boss himself. And I mean Springsteen, not Obama. And so they're doing everything they can to get their people out, because I've been saying now for about 2 weeks, it's all pretty well baked in. Now it's a matter of turnout. And if you watch her schedule recently, she spent the whole weekend in Philadelphia, a critical place for her to be able to get a massive turnout to overcome some of the other areas of Pennsylvania that are tough. Today she's in Michigan. I was just in Michigan at the University of Michigan, and I had a leading Democrat talk to me and say, I'll tell you, she's not here enough. She's not doing enough. So I think what they're doing is they're looking at where they can go, and they're just racing up and down, and this is a really crazy time. I've been in the middle of these things, and it's in a way, it's like water torture. Drip, 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 get them out. Drip, drip, drip. It's just craziness now.
Yeah, and as Europe, we're showing Kamala Harris, by the way, in Saginaw County, Michigan. She is at Corning's Hemlock Semiconductor Next Gen facility, but she's talking to workers there exactly what that Michigan Democrat was telling you she needs to do, and to the point that the governor was also making, Matthew, we are seeing more ways, arguably, than ever, trying to convince people to vote in this final week. I mean, the Harris campaign put Governor Tim Walz on a live stream on a site some people may not be familiar with called Twitch, playing a video game against Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. And it was the New York Times that reported that the DNC is paying for 15-second video ads on digital gas station kiosks at checkout counters in 5 different states. Is all this new outreach that we're seeing just a reflection of the fractured messaging environment we live in now, that maybe they're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't? How do you see all of this?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, and having been through 2 campaigns for president in 2000 and 2004, one of the things you constantly look for—
That's the Stone Ages. I was there too.
That was the time when,
wow,
we're going to send a message to a cell phone. That was when it was like, whoa, are you really? And I remember we went through a whole bunch of different ideas, and I think it's, you get to the end of a campaign and there's always surplus. In a presidential race at this level, there's always surplus money. And the question becomes, what do you spend your money on that you have? She has plenty of money, and I think Donald Trump has plenty of money. And so what are all the different creative ways that you can go and reach voters in this day and age that somebody else might not have done before. I remember we bought ads next to the weather report on radio stations in the final 10 days. Nobody had ever done that before, buying the ad adjacency to a weather report. So it sounded like the weather report was sponsored by George W. Bush in the course of that. And that was 15-second radio ads in this. And so you look for any creative means in a very tight election. And one thing I'll say, and people, we always talk about the tightness of election, the average margin for president over the last 30 years in a winning president in the last 30 years has been 3%. That's the average margin in a presidential race. That's going to be the same this time. It was in the last two elections. It was in the two elections before that. It's going to be a 3 or 4 point total race in the course of this. I actually think she's favored right now, but it's close. As
someone who was a radio reporter for 4 years, I can't imagine somebody not thinking it's a great idea to run an ad next to the weather, which is what they really pay attention to, what people driving really are paying attention to anyway. But, Governor, you know, I was at the Trump rally. I've said this last night, and there was a sign above the Jumbotron that never changed. It said, vote early. And that's something that was reiterated by one speaker and then the next and then the next. Take a listen.
You line up like you're the third monkey on line for the Ark and it's starting to rain. You vote early, and then you bring your friends so that we can take back our country once and for all.
You need to get friends and family to vote. Make sure they vote early. This is important.
It's so interesting to me, Governor, because the Trump campaign switched gears on early voting. And look at this example in Nevada. 5% more of registered Republicans have cast a ballot compared to registered Democrats. Big change from 2020. Do you think that this messaging shift might make a difference for Republicans?
Well, it is pretty stunning that Republicans are now kind of matched to Democrats on early voting, something that we hadn't seen before, and I think it's very significant. But I have to say to you, Chris, that in reading the media for the last couple days, this race is so close. And if you look at what people are saying, Democrats are just freaked out at the thought of Trump being elected. The Republicans freaked out at the thought of Harris being elected. And, you know, and both of them believe this is existential. You know, maybe the country somehow comes to an end. You know, we all need to take a deep breath. We are going to survive this, regardless of who wins. And I know some folks watching are just shaking their heads and say, oh, we can't. No, we will. We've been through very tough times in this country before, whether it were the wars, whether it was depression. I mean, the race between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, man, that was just as tough as you could find. And I've been around the public arena, and I worry about our country. But I am not worried that we are facing an existential threat. We will survive this. The founders created a constitution and a process whereby everything gets checked in one way or another. Could it be rickety? Could it be rocky? Yes. But we need to stop thinking of other people as the enemy. They have a different point of view. Some of it is hyped up. We need to remember that we're all made in the image of God and that we're all to be respected. And that we need to just realize, take a deep breath. We will survive this. You don't have to leave the country regardless. You can stay here and work in your neighborhood and make friends with people you may not agree with. But this is so important, Chris, because I hear so many people so uptight. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. It's going to be fine. You may not have your side win, but we will get through it. And I think if we're together, we'll be stronger.
You will be happy to hear that as I was walking the line and talking to Trump supporters yesterday, and one woman was saying to me how horrible it was going to be if Kamala Harris was elected, a woman she was with turned to her and said, "We lost in 2020 and we're still here. Whoever wins, it's going to be okay." So there you go. There are a few people out there still who believe what you believe.